Nyanje chembor tsordan hingmi zhang, loner manam chembor ngajata, bakir dargam santo shirmata. Stumba tikje janla ki zhang zar, kora togaran jar nyambum gara yonda karzo kawi kyetzar. Toni nyambo rebir namjur ba, alonjan ramjur zong sor hande, abazan kim kero nyang lajar, kanda zangbo, unum namra. Chichi gyarim chilin chumzun banjan, lami zhang langu sham tsar, Jigme Stonjar Tsombe Toy Lama Hong Phuntsok Basam Jin Yondan Faye Bamdem Joni Rinpoche Rimcho Kwardan Lamar Ki Shansar.
In order to liberate all sentient beings from the cycle of suffering and guide them towards ultimate enlightenment, please give rise to the supreme and unsurpassed Bodhichitta. Today marks the auspicious beginning of our comprehensive course, at least from my perspective. As in the past, we also diligently follow the profound and invaluable teachings of the revered Guru, Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. Every year, during our very first class, to establish a foundation for our studies and spiritual practice, we always recite the profound and inspiring Song of Victory, or meticulously chant the sacred transmission of the Song of Victory. This practice is also the complete perfection of our spiritual journey and dedicated practice, effectively eliminating all obstacles and impediments on our path, and attain a profound and complete victory in diligently listening to and faithfully transmitting the sacred Dharma. With this truly auspicious and propitious beginning, I will now first recite this once. The oral transmission of the Song of Victory composed by the revered Guru, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche.
Gyarbat yaktam la yirnga drajik sor, nyang dabjit pami zemjala, gor yerken yishir chigndi ke jinjagor jonar tajig nektan metsin rolar membramza. Lam yangzir gogzir nyangbo yi tsig tobe chizar harur sheda, nad gomer dawa chikatur. The konar niga hwarvi tam dunda dam chapir kar zangzo, shgun karman zogzon lag jire. Hwarkanda zangdang karam nyama, tu gavara kishi nyang chogr nam, nenjigron kori semchir nam, tande sala goyon shir. Jampan gi sanjin kurda je rang chinzan hali tugjin tor, man nganju gomparande ingo. Kung thori de koranda yin jen tartari kansaranda yishin lomama nyamjin da lamzo de yirin kor panzon tadagla yin mombi samba lopu nga tor labjin rovi im chordom cho chunda chim tianjim chogdo zon shirim gomto ngelgam tadag de kharkan da labten nemjong nda nyamna ngan rom tamedin kyam ramgo mankro langdurum zon Tikundab samshur chogdang tan, jitrangshang samba karla zun. Pugrangdun gyachir jumdo kyang, zirgjantan shepa mangayin. Tun dala machuk zang mazir, gun tiksam gyarwi tamkelam. Chubdangu ji nyankayin, da mabjid loptsugnam. Khtam dirmi giwin joakan, nin kori yansa lichurjan. Vashkardan gawi susa kir, nab dirdin jangdar kivra shogo. Jiban de Rabjin, Rabshon Chubdun be Meifshir Dabja Pitse Gola, Udakchik Honlub Shinan Sansam Mamtambi Yerle Jarwa Gartungi Tis, Agendam Barton Char Ngala Nieva Zamdi Wis, Ngan Lutum Somepe, Chortam Lur Lava Gewo, Chirgur Kupchuk Kochiglu, Davar Gipitse Nierchiglago.
Today, I am prepared and delighted to share with each and every one of you a concise yet profound spiritual practice related to the revered Guru Padmasambhava. It seems my voice is currently a bit too loud, which might be overwhelming for some listeners. I sincerely apologize for any discomfort this may cause you. Today, we would like to take this valuable opportunity to talk to everyone about a very important and engaging subject that we believe will be of great interest to our audience. We aim to provide comprehensive insights and explanations on this matter. The revered Guru, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, on September 12, 1990, at the sacred Tiger's Nest Monastery in Bhutan, officially known as Paro Taktsang, a revered site where he revealed a profound Terma teaching of great spiritual and historical importance to many. Today, I am prepared with a grateful heart to share this invaluable Dharma practice with everyone present. Of course, after I have carefully read and thoroughly understood it. I don't know, among our audience today, some have faith in Vajrayana teachings, while some may not necessarily have faith in Vajrayana. Perhaps some are here out of curiosity, just to listen and see what this spiritual path might offer or reveal to them, how these teachings could possibly influence their thoughts or lives, what exactly Vajrayana is like. With this mindset, they are here to listen and receive the teaching. In that case, perhaps it would be better to explain it in 2 stages. Today, I will talk about our profound and powerful Wrathful Guru Rinpoche practice. That is to say, we will explore the historical origin of this specific Dorje Drolö practice, as well as the essential necessity and significance of engaging in wrathful practices. How such practices can truly benefit us in our everyday daily lives and professional work, or, in other words, what specific kinds of benefits they genuinely bring to our lives and well-being. We are going to cover these fundamental and important similar principles. Let me first talk about these. If there is time, then we can see how to proceed with the rest later. So I think with proper foundation and preparation in the first stage, I will briefly explain to everyone that in Tibetan Buddhism, there truly are many unique and distinctive spiritual practices and concepts that are different from Theravada Buddhism and Chinese Han Buddhism, such as certain ritual practices and Terma teachings, as well as some comprehensive and in-depth theoretical explanations providing detailed insights into the underlying principles and concepts, and various esoteric and specialized pith instructions and guiding methods, among many other teachings and practices. If an individual does not grasp the deeper spiritual significance of meaning behind these concepts, for most people they might appear unnecessary, or simply nothing more than just that, in fact. But if you truly experience some of the profound and deeper meanings within them, you will find a new understanding, or recognize the exceptional qualities of the pith instructions. Then it should be like only the drinker knows if the water is hot or cold. There is absolutely no real need for a great deal of extensive explanations or detailed descriptions whatsoever. You will naturally come to fully understand the fundamental principles completely on your own. In fact, this is also truly very important indeed. This is something I often believe. When it comes to studying Buddhism, there are 2 types of Buddhists. One type has a rather strong and naturally developed spiritual good capacity, and no matter what happens or occurs, after encountering the Dharma, regardless of which specific school, which particular lineage, or which distinct practice it is, they are truly able to accept and fully comprehend it in a remarkably short period of time. But for some individuals, even though you have formally taken refuge for a considerably long duration, and perhaps have been an active part of a Buddhist community for quite some considerable time, such practice still hasn't fully and completely merged with your mind stream. It hasn't been entirely integrated. The Dharma is just the Dharma, and the person is just a person. Between the Dharma and the person, just as some practitioners in Tibetan Buddhism have said in the past, there is still a certain distance between the person and the Dharma. In this case, even though you have listened to many teachings from both the Sutrayana and Tantrayana traditions, your own mind stream remains unchanged as before. It's exactly the same as if you had never received any profound teachings at all. Some people's mind streams, actually, may even become worse and worse. This is a very serious and concerning real possibility. We often observe and witness this, see this in people around us, or even in ourselves if we are honest as well. When we slowly and carefully observe our own mind streams, some people, before they entered the Dharma, were indeed stubborn and difficult to transform. But once they took refuge in the Dharma and engaged in listening, contemplation, and practice, their mind streams became like completely different people. There should be a tremendous change. Some people do experience a bit of change, but this change is extremely slow. Some people improve for a while, and then they might experience a plateau. But it's just like a very mischievous child who behaves well for 2 or 3 days. Then after a little while, they might gradually turn into what we call Dharma slicksters. So I think for all of us here, regardless of whether we diligently practice the profound teachings of the Sutrayana or the sacred Vajrayana, if the Dharma truly and deeply merges with our hearts, even if we simply practice a basic ritual or just contemplate the precious human life from the preliminary practices, or even just a single verse from the Bodhicharyavatara, if it fully resonates with your mind stream, then whether it's in this lifetime or even throughout all your future lives in your mind stream, this Dharma has already become a rare and precious nectar-like medicine. But if your mind stream does not resonate with it, some people might listen for 10 or even 20 years. And the more they listen, the more annoyed or completely numb they become. In the very end, they just give up. They might even develop various wrong views about the teacher or the Dharma, harboring all sorts of misconceptions, and they themselves may end up falling into degeneration. So when we listen to the Dharma, sometimes the form is not that important. What truly matters is being genuine and sincere, allowing the Dharma to truly merge with our hearts. We often have prayers praying for the mind to merge with the Dharma, and the Dharma to merge with the mind. Such prayers are truly very important. Sometimes, indeed, we earnestly pray to the revered lineage masters, hoping that our ordinary worldly mind can truly and deeply enter into the profound Dharma and grasp its true essence. We rely on the blessings of the Guru, the Yidam, the Dharma protectors, and the Dakinis as much as possible, with such a strong conviction. I have seen some individual practitioners, whether monastics or lay practitioners, even though they have only studied for a relatively short time, for example, 5 years, 6 years, or 10 years. For us as genuine practitioners, this is actually a very short period of time, but their transformation is significant, and everything they practice and do is completely in accordance with the Dharma and the proper way. Some of us may have studied for a long time and listened to a great deal of Dharma teachings. If all the texts were loaded onto an elephant, it would probably, not to mention 2 enormous elephants, at the very least be more than enough for a single elephant to carry, or to put it in another way, at the very least enough for a sturdy mountain goat to carry. Some of us have listened to so many teachings. We've heard Madhyamaka, tantric teachings, and all sorts of others. If you can't carry all your Dharma texts yourself, just lead an old mountain goat along. If you piled all the Dharma texts you've listened to onto the mountain goat, if you loaded them all onto the goat, in the end, the goat simply wouldn't be able to walk anymore and would just lie down. But as for indeed these very Dharma texts, how do they actually benefit our mind stream? Perhaps they don't bring any benefit at all. When you encounter a challenging situation, you still get angry as usual. You still lose your temper. You still act the same way. All of these habits and traits are the same as before you studied Buddhism or before you started learning. It seemed you didn't understand. But after studying, you actually learned more ways to slander others. Some of us, especially those individuals who are more highly educated and intellectually developed, might even become considerably more skilled and adept at the act of slandering and defaming others. This is a truly frightening thing. So first of all, I want to emphasize, no matter whether we are practicing exoteric or esoteric teachings, it's not about how long we've been practicing, nor is it about how much Dharma we've listened to, whether it's a lot or a little. What's most important and truly significant is that even if you've only heard a little bit of the Dharma, sometimes due to the foundation from past lives, your merit and various other reasons, it can bring great benefit to you. In the future, you can practice properly and in accordance with the Dharma. So I often think, for ordinary people like us, compared to a master like the precious Guru Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, there's really no way to compare. But it's certainly true that he spent a full 6 years in Seoksu County, whereas if we were to spend a similar 6 years, for many of us who study and contemplate the Dharma, that amount of time is not short at all. But what kind of transformation did it bring to his life? His attitude in relying on his guru and the way he received the guru's innermost teachings are things that everyone can clearly see for themselves. So whether it is the profound Dharma we hear, or the Dharma we diligently study, or the content we deeply contemplate, the most crucial thing is to integrate it into our own hearts, to truly transform ourselves. And in transforming ourselves, it is only when the Dharma truly changes our own mental continuum that listening to the Dharma becomes very genuinely beneficial. So why am I talking to everyone today about the practice of Guru Padmasambhava? In fact, the essential teachings of Guru Padmasambhava. In this truly degenerate age, we find ourselves living in today, an era marked by decline and moral decay, the very same degenerate age that often challenges our values. These elements are indeed profoundly and exceptionally important. How exactly are they so critically important, and what makes their significance stand out in such a challenging period? The immense and powerful sacred aspirations of the great Guru Padmasambhava, as stated in one of the profound supplication prayers, Guru Padmasambhava is truly able to liberate all sentient beings in the world, and his enlightened activities are never, ever interrupted. This means that Guru Padmasambhava once indeed came to Tibetan area, primarily to propagate and reveal the Vajrayana teachings, but his true aspirations and enlightened activities extend throughout the entire world, continuously liberating all sentient beings, and he will continue to liberate all beings throughout the entire world. Moreover, his enlightened and compassionate activities are unceasing. In fact, these are also the activities of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, which never come to an end, never become empty. Especially the truly enlightened activities of Guru Padmasambhava are indeed continuously uninterrupted. As for these activities, we might wonder if someone like me indeed prays, will it really benefit me? Will I receive blessings? Actually, it's just like when there is a full moon in the sky. No matter where a vessel of water is placed, it will always accurately reflect the image of the moon. In precisely the same way, as long as we truly have faith, he does not distinguish ethnicities or countries, does not distinguish by skin color, nor by your religious beliefs. As long as we have faith in the essential teachings of Vajrayana and in Guru Rinpoche, we will indeed most certainly and truly receive his blessings. This profoundly signifies that for those individuals who possess genuine and unwavering faith, the revered Guru Rinpoche is always and truly right before them. Just as the enlightened Buddha also clearly stated in the sacred Avatamsaka Sutra, if one truly has sincere faith, the Buddha is indeed by everyone's side. Therefore, first and foremost, our deep and abiding faith in Guru Rinpoche is extremely important. Of course, due to the differences in people's individual capacities, some people may have faith in Guru Rinpoche, some may have faith in Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, and some individuals may also have faith in Manjushri Bodhisattva. So the innate faith that each person possesses may not necessarily be directed toward the same object, but our faith is such that when you didn't understand before, you might not have developed faith in them. But after understanding, you may develop faith. For example, speaking about myself, when I first started, before I studied Chinese Han Buddhism, I didn't have such great faith in the sixth patriarch. I just thought he was an extraordinary figure in Chinese Han Buddhism, and that even now his physical body still remains preserved. The great Chan master of the Zen tradition. At first that was my view. Later, after I had the profound opportunity to read the esteemed Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, and subsequently delved into some of his comprehensive biographies, I developed an unwavering and deeply rooted faith from the very bottom of my heart. So regardless of what kind of individual we are, at the beginning, when we don't really understand or know much, whether it's toward the Buddha or the Bodhisattvas or some great accomplished masters, it's the same principle, the same reasoning applies. Even among the great monks and virtuous teachers in our world, it's the same. When you don't understand at first, you think, he's just a person, and so am I. What's the difference between the two of us? He eats, and I eat too. But when you truly rely on him over a long period, and see that in his continuum, whether it's compassion, wisdom, or discipline. In many aspects, he is completely different from yourself. Then, regarding his qualities, a sense of awe and reverence will naturally arise. So I think for many of us, when it comes to the revered Guru Padmasambhava, first and foremost, we need to cultivate a positive and reasonable attitude. It's not that he originally possesses no qualities or merits whatsoever, but you insist on having faith in him. It's not like we are advertising or engaging in multi-level marketing to promote him in this particular way. If in this world there truly exists a treasure of immense and significant value, then it is absolutely necessary for everyone to fully recognize and acknowledge it. But if it's a fake treasure, then others' subsequent promotion and detailed explanation of it should be considered quite groundless and making something truly out of nothing. It's very unreasonable. It's absolutely illogical. So I think, speaking from my own personal experience, as I've mentioned to everyone many times before, ever since I was quite young, perhaps because of my family background, perhaps because of the environment, or maybe, as I believe, it must be due to karmic connections from a previous life. I grew up in such an environment and have had an exceptional faith in Guru Rinpoche, even when I was very young. Sometimes at that time there were no Buddha statues and religion was not open. Then I would find some small stones or little bone artifacts and treat them as representations of Guru Padmasambhava or Shakyamuni Buddha, offering flowers and earth in front of them. Since childhood, I have had an exceptional faith in Guru Rinpoche. It was only later that I came across some of Guru Padmasambhava's Dzogchen teachings, and after encountering many of Guru Padmasambhava's profound Terma teachings and invaluable instructions, that could truly be considered a positive, genuine, and deeply felt kind of faith. I personally feel that this particular kind of faith can truly withstand scrutiny and thorough examination, and should be a faith that is logical and well-founded. I also sincerely hope that everyone present here, if you possess faith in this particular regard, it should unequivocally be a rational, sensible, and profoundly reasonable kind of faith, grounded in clear understanding and thoughtful consideration. In other words, it should be unwavering faith. This is very important. A kind of faith that simply follows what others say, comes quickly and changes just as quickly. Some of us, when it comes to a certain guru, oh, this guru is truly remarkable. At first we wouldn't even call them a guru. We'd say, the Buddha has come, the Buddha, and so on. Then after a while, a bodhisattva has come. Then after some more time, an arhat has come. And then we start saying, a virtuous teacher has come. And finally, it seems like that bad person has come, the demon has come. If that's the case, then that's not acceptable. So sometimes when it comes to people, if our initial faith is based purely on intense feelings and very emotional, at first we have a lot of faith. But in the end, perhaps in our own eyes, even an ordinary virtuous person seems better than them, then that's truly quite shocking and deeply unbelievable. So our sincere and devoted and carefully cultivated faith in Guru Rinpoche, speaking from my own personal experience in life, is also very truly and extremely important and significant. So why exactly do I say this? Why are we introducing Guru Rinpoche at this particular time? Actually, there are indeed many spiritual practices related to Guru Rinpoche. The most important and significant of these are the 8 distinct manifestations of Guru Rinpoche. When it's convenient in future, I would also really like to take this valuable opportunity to talk to everyone present here today about the comprehensive and insightful brief biography of Guru Rinpoche. The 8 miraculous manifestations of Padmasambhava. This is also indeed very important to note. This time we are going to be talking about the profound and powerful practice of the Wrathful Guru Rinpoche, who is also known as Dorje Drolö. As for this practice, which we have been considering, it is essential to understand its various aspects and potential implications for both personal and collective spiritual development. Today I want to talk about the ritual, but maybe later. I'm not sure. Since I'm saying a bit more now, there might not be enough time to cover everything. First, as I mentioned earlier, Guru Rinpoche truly has great blessing power. And this profound spiritual blessing power, which flows from his pure and perfect enlightened compassion and wisdom, may definitely and clearly vary for some people, including the significant differences in certain geographical regions and specific areas as well, you see. When my teacher went to the West in the past, I distinctly observed that Western individuals appeared to possess an even more profound and unwavering faith in Guru Rinpoche. I encountered numerous Western foreigners, and it was truly evident that they genuinely held this deep and heartfelt spiritual devotion and unwavering belief in Guru Rinpoche. At that particular time, I truly wondered why it seemed like. Usually in Tibetan area, there are quite a lot of people who have faith in Guru Rinpoche. But sometimes, when I looked carefully among them, many devout Buddhists had great and profound faith in Guru Rinpoche. However, this isn't just my own personal opinion. Some time ago, I listened to an audio recording. It was from a very, very long time ago, the second Dudjom Rinpoche. He passed away many years ago. He just entered parinirvana back in the year of 1987. It was Dudjom Rinpoche's recording, and it seemed like someone was asking him questions. During the process of being questioned at the very beginning, he said, "I am very happy to be here in New York today," and it just so happened to coincide with the bicentennial of the founding of the United States. I did the math. It was 1976, so it was probably around that time. He said, "Today the circumstances are also very auspicious." Then he continued to talk about some aspects of spiritual practice. The experienced practitioners are really different. Even though they may not say much, their words truly carry blessings and power, and some of their words possess a very special and transformative, unique strength. Especially when he mentioned with great joy and sincerity that he was particularly delighted to be on this land. He said that for Americans, their faith in Guru Padmasambhava is unlike that found in many other places. He explicitly stated that for himself, he has absolutely no sectarian bias or favoritism. But in this degenerate age, for some dedicated practitioners, relying upon Guru Padmasambhava can effectively dispel various kinds of spiritual and physical obstacles. Therefore, he also hopes that these devoted and sincere followers will keep striving and frequently pray to Guru Padmasambhava. And I have read his detailed and inspiring spiritual autobiography, which contains many remarkable personal experiences before. It seems that when he was in his teens, at that particular time, he awakened the profound spiritual lineage of the ancient Tetones from his many past lives. And there were many, many mind termas. He kept many of these mind termas secret for about 37 years before revealing them later. In his works, there are many practices related to Guru Rinpoche in wrathful form. The wrathful Guru Rinpoche practice that we are about to discuss now, that is to say, many practices of the wrathful Guru Rinpoche. These profound practices, whether observed in the West or the East nowadays, are indeed highly valued and deeply appreciated by dedicated practitioners in many countries. Moreover, within their own individual mind streams, they have genuinely received powerful and transformative blessings. The uncommon teachings of Guru Padmasambhava, especially in the degenerate age, our sentient beings' discursive thoughts, are extremely chaotic and incredibly complicated, presenting a truly formidable challenge. There are also all kinds of obstructing spirits, terrifying ghosts, and rampant spirits, creating an atmosphere of pervasive dread. Moreover, in this profoundly degenerate and morally declining age, there are all sorts of dark, insidious forces, truly evil forces and profoundly demonic influences. When all kinds of negative, opposing forces against us are at their absolute strongest and most overwhelming, the power of Guru Rinpoche, as some great masters have said, is like sunlight in the midst of darkness. Or, with this kind of spiritual power, all evil spirits and heretical forces will have absolutely no way to take advantage. In other words, it's like putting on a complete suit of impenetrable Vajra armor, like a suit of diamond armor. It is a truly supreme and highly effective practice that offers profound protection to oneself from the insidious attacks by various demons. Therefore, within the intricate framework of this very practice, there are also many different and distinct methods. However, it is indeed true that the inherent power of some of these practices is completely and remarkably different. Some people often say, why do tantric practices involve meditating on wrathful Vajra deities who look so terrifying, baring their fangs? Isn't Buddhism supposed to be very compassionate? If it's about compassion, how can there be such fierce deities? Some people might think that. Actually, when you truly study the net of illusion tantra or the Manjushranama Samgati and other such teachings, only then will you truly understand that what we commonly consider as anger in this mundane world. Actually, when we lose our temper, we really do become like absolute madmen. Originally, our mouths look quite nice and pleasant, but as soon as we get truly angry, we become quite distorted, just like some actors we see in the world, who are usually quite decent. But sometimes when they lose their temper, when their inner demons manifest, their mouths and eyes no longer look pleasant. But in reality, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are not like this. Why do Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifest wrathful forms? This is something everyone should understand. First, we need to know that this wrathful appearance is not like the faces of worldly people who, when filled with anger and hatred, look quite ugly. It's definitely and absolutely not like that. So, what precisely and accurately is it like? These wrathful forms are actually the inseparable union of wisdom and compassion, manifesting as a kind of dance and wondrous power, a form of majesty. This is a kind of manifestation, and through this method, it is possible to subdue those who are stubborn and difficult to transform, whether they are vicious, truly ferocious spirits, powerful yakshas, or malevolent demons. These entities can all be effectively subdued and brought under control. For example, during our spiritual practice, if we consistently practice a peaceful yidam, then in a very real sense, the peaceful yidam actively helps you to effectively eliminate various obstacles so that your spiritual discipline, focused concentration, and profound wisdom can be smoothly and successfully accomplished. However, in extremely adverse and challenging environments, when the forces of demons are rampant and flourishing at such times, even some peaceful yidams are utterly powerless. As everyone truly knows, back then, when the great Bodhisattva came to Tibetan area to widely spread the sacred Dharma, the evil forces were extremely powerful at that time. Later, only by inviting the wrathful form of Guru Padmasambhava could success be achieved. Even to this day, such a form still truly exists in existence. Therefore, for some worldly practices, which are common in our daily lives, they can be effectively accomplished through peaceful and harmonious means. But for some, if one practices only with peaceful methods, the opposing obstructive forces still cannot be truly subdued. Just like amongst all the people in the world, generally speaking, regardless of if from the East or the West, from any country, they should be gentle and compassionate. This is a basic quality of humanity that everyone praises. But do all achieve goals peacefully? Not always. Not everything is achieved using entirely peaceful methods. Some people, in fact, use a powerful and forceful demeanor and accomplish their goals in a rough or aggressive manner. But in this process, what is the true difference? The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will never harm even a single tiny pore of any sentient being at all. Not even a single pore will be harmed. Moreover, they have the ability, in their mental continuum and 5 aggregates, they can rely on their meditative concentration and wisdom to merge themselves into the Dharma realm, allowing sentient beings to be free from suffering and achieve happiness. When practitioners engage in wrathful practices, we never practice with a mind of anger or hatred. This is something I remember very clearly and often recall. When we at Larung first started accepting some Han Chinese practitioners, there was one particular individual from Chongqing. He came with his little daughter. At first, he also requested some teachings from the precious His Holiness. His Holiness gave him some wrathful mantras of Guru Rinpoche. Then, as for him, we didn't really know what happened next. At that time, maybe it was the same as in many other places. At first, he insisted that His Holiness must give him a certain practice. Back then, we were here, and there were relatively few people from different ethnic groups. So whenever someone came, His Holiness was very compassionate, and we also paid a lot of attention. At that time, we ourselves didn't have any proper place to stay or anything, but we still paid a lot of attention to them and often gave them food. Once he came to my house. He said, "I'm doing quite well in my practice now." I asked, "How is it?" He said, "I've already succeeded in practicing the wrathful form." I asked, "How did you succeed?" He said, "Every day I think about my opponent, that Qigong master. Every day I think about crushing him, subduing him." And as he spoke, he began to generate a great deal of anger. Later I just spoke to him once again. I said, your practice is wrong. It is not practiced with anger. You need to change your approach. Why don't you cultivate compassion first? Later, I also quietly mentioned it to the precious Guru. I said, it seems like his way of practicing isn't quite right. It's not the proper way to practice our wrathful yidam. His goal is to harm someone. After that, His Holiness basically stopped teaching the wrathful practices as much. Including this practice we have now, it has always been the case that we haven't been allowed to teach it openly, right? And because when it comes to certain personal images, there might be some effects or influences as well. So when we are practicing, we must never ever think, oh, now I want to use Guru Rinpoche's wrathful form or the practice of Vajrayana. Use these to deal with people who don't get along well with me, or those who affect my work or my family or my competitors. I want to practice this Dharma so that the other side will completely collapse, so that the other side will be completely unlucky, completely destroyed. If you have this kind of thought, then definitely in your practice, there is not a single Buddhist practice that is based on hatred or based on one's own greed. Such greed, hatred, and ignorance are not true Dharma practice. Whether it's Tibetan Buddhism or Theravada Buddhism, in any spiritual tradition or any established practice, there is no practice that is based on one's own anger or afflictions. This point must be clearly understood, but we need to know that through this kind of practice, it is indeed possible that in some teachings it is not very clearly explained. However, its effects are truly extraordinary. This is something everyone should be aware of. Why do we often see some wrathful deities who look truly terrifying and chilling at first glance? But in reality, the function they serve is indeed quite inconceivable. In our own practical experience, we should also be able to clearly see this for ourselves. Because some people often recite wrathful deities or practice Guru Rinpoche's teachings. Their spiritual practice throughout their lives is indeed very successful and smooth. Some people may not have such practices, and as a result, they often encounter obstacles in their practice. It may even cause significant obstacles to their lifespan or their work. I remember the biography of the first Dudjom Rinpoche, which I translated several years ago, if I recall correctly. I wonder if any of you vividly remember it. Back then, when the revered Dudjom Rinpoche was precisely 14 years old, one particular night he had a very significant dream. A powerful Dakini spoke directly to him, telling him to inform his respected uncle and to make absolutely certain his uncle diligently practiced the sacred Vajrayana. If he did not practice Vajrayana, there might be obstacles to his lifespan in September that year. At that time, Dudjom Rinpoche was only 14, still very young. The next morning, when he woke up, he personally went to his uncle right away. Uncle, you need to diligently practice Vajrayana, otherwise you will face obstacles to your lifespan this year. But that uncle was probably a rather difficult person to influence. He said, you're just a little kid, what do you truly know? He then patted him dismissively and really didn't take him seriously at all. Then, when September finally came, in the autumn season, a severe epidemic broke out, and indeed his beloved uncle sadly passed away. Then when October arrived, one night he had yet another dream. In this dream, a venerable monk and a woman explicitly told Dudjom Rinpoche, at that time he was 14 years old, they told him, we are going to a certain place underground. That place is very beautiful, should we go? And he readily agreed. He said, okay, I will certainly go. And as he was diligently getting himself ready to depart, a striking red figure suddenly appeared, seemingly riding a red Garuda bird. I don't remember it very clearly. When you have time, look at Dudjom Rinpoche's biography. When I was translating it, I felt this was really, sometimes people really should practice some specific yidam practices to effectively protect themselves and to protect others, as well as their own well-being. Practicing some Dharma, which involves profound spiritual teachings, is indeed very important and beneficial. At that moment, the distinct red figure clearly told him, you cannot go. If you go, your life will be cut short. It's very dangerous. You must not go now. Not only should you not go, right now you must practice Wrathful Guru Rinpoche. That's the Drakpo we are practicing now. It seems that the Drakpo in that particular context and our Rinpoche's Dorje Drolö are a bit different in some aspects. This practice of Guru Padmasambhava, what is the color of his body? He has one face and 4 arms, and so on. He was told to visualize, and after finishing the visualization, he was instructed to diligently practice the hum syllable, to keep reciting the hum syllable continuously. In this way, all the obstacles in your life will be dispelled. Then, as he was diligently chanting hum, 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 after a significant while, the woman and the monk from earlier completely disappeared. It was only after waking up that he realized that if he had not diligently practiced this powerful, wrathful Guru Rinpoche sadhana, he probably would not have survived the severe epidemic that year. Later, it seems he lived to be well over 60 years old. He eventually passed away at the age of 63. When exactly did he attain parinirvana, that is to say, pass into final nirvana? At that time, the red figure was his Yidam deity. If he hadn't practiced hum, hum, hum at that time, it would have still been very dangerous. So, some of our Dharma friends often inquire about this. Back in the earliest days, during the initial period of the community, some of the nuns did frequently or consistently chant hum, hum, hum. When we first started out, there were a few nuns who also liked to recite the hum syllable frequently. At that time, perhaps they didn't even comprehend what hum, hum, hum truly meant. It's perfectly acceptable if you don't understand everything. Some mantras possess truly inconceivable power. There are also such accounts in the biography of the first Dudjom Rinpoche. So it's very necessary for us to practice this Guru Rinpoche practice as well. Of course, this Guru Rinpoche practice of ours, it has been nearly 30 years since it was revealed by His Holiness. It has never been publicly transmitted until now. Why am I transmitting it recently? One reason is a sense of impermanence. If I don't transmit it now, who knows what will happen in the future? On the one hand, I feel this way because, as His Holiness previously also mentioned, the previous incarnation of His Holiness, the highly revered Master Lerab Lingpa, among his profound and sacred Terma treasures, there was also a very significant and exceptionally powerful one, specifically the profound Dorje Drolö practice of the great and compassionate Guru Padmasambhava. At the culmination of this sacred practice, it is traditionally said and widely believed, I can't recite the original text from memory, but the meaning is that at that time of Lerab Lingpa, that Guru Rinpoche practice, or rather his Terma teaching, was not that flourishing. Then in the second lifetime, that is during the era of His Holiness Rinpoche, this secret teaching of Guru Rinpoche became extremely flourishing. And just how incredibly flourishing and prosperous was it? From the ancient land of Nepal all the way to the vast expanse of Han region, there is a significant scriptural reference that His Holiness often quoted and frequently cited. So I truly think this is also a very auspicious and profound connection. Now we should transmit this powerful and wrathful practice of Guru Rinpoche to those individuals who do not hold or harbor any wrong views, to those who are truly able to genuinely accept and embrace it. I want to transmit and convey it to absolutely everyone, because if I do so, on one hand, at that particular time, the Guru Rinpoche practice of His Holiness, some of us fortunately still possessed and maintained a very pure and unbroken transmission. There was Lama Phuntsok, Khenpo Namdrol, and at that particular time there was also a Bhutanese Lama present. As for Tibetan, we also had 2 additional Lamas, one of whom was called Lama Sotun and the other was known as Lama Ripa. These revered spiritual figures, among those of us who went, His Holiness and Ani Medru have passed away. At that time, these were the people we had. As for how the revelation was conducted in Bhutan at that time, there is a little bit about it in His Holiness's biography. However, today I will briefly share it with everyone. Regarding the process of this significant revelation, this time within the book A Dreamy Pilgrimage with My Guru 30 years ago, I have provided a somewhat more detailed and comprehensive description. Some people think A Dreamy Pilgrimage with My Guru 30 years ago is my autobiography, but actually it's not an autobiography. Back in the year of 1990, the revered His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche first embarked on a sacred pilgrimage and then went to the holy lands of Nepal, India, and Bhutan. Later, sometime after returning to the mainland from Hong Kong during that significant period, he visited several temples near Chengdu, and then he came back. Altogether, the entire trip lasted for 6 months and 3 days. As for the whole process, it was quite an extensive undertaking. I used to have, didn't I show you before? There was an old, worn-out calendar, and also a small rough record of the journey. Then I carefully pieced all of these elements together and subsequently wrote a simple yet precious account of those significant 6 months at that particular time. In that narrative, I also described a bit about the process that unfolded in Bhutan, including how the sacred Terma was revealed. I gave a brief yet informative description. Here, I'll also just briefly share it with everyone now. So how did His Holiness reveal this Dharma at that time? Actually, when His Holiness went to the Kingdom of Bhutan in that particular year, he was originally residing at the significant Nam Droling Monastery, which is located in southern India. At this important spiritual center, he was scheduled to conduct extensive teachings for a period of more than 3 months. However, later, the then reigning king of Bhutan, the previous king, who had already abdicated, named Sangai Wangchuk, along with Ashika Sang, who was also the queen consort at that particular time, graciously invited him. At that moment, His Holiness was teaching the profound 7-line prayer. When he received their invitation, it was said that the invitation was recommended by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. Later, there was a prophecy that said, if His Holiness could reveal a Terma there, it was believed that many disasters and potential calamities threatening their land could be successfully averted. At that critical time, they were indeed facing numerous profound crises and challenging situations, which included not only complex internal affairs but also pressing issues between different regions. When the official invitation was formally received, the profound teachings in southern India were temporarily paused for a significant while. And then a direct flight was undertaken from Kolkata, making its scenic way to the bustling airport near Bhutan. At that time, important meetings were graciously held with the revered king and other royal dignitaries, and subsequently, further profound and enlightening engagements took place with the highly respected Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. After that, I remember it was around September 12th when we carefully and excitedly went to the magnificent and sacred Tiger's Nest, Paro Taktsang Monastery perched high above. My diary records it all quite clearly. Where we went in the morning, where we went in the afternoon, how many hours we actually truly spent on the plane. Looking back now, even 30 years later, it's still remarkably and interesting to consider. Then, on the specific day we actually went, His Holiness and the other esteemed individuals had thoughtfully arranged for a traditional sedan chair, specifically designed to be carried by several people, primarily because the sacred Tiger's Nest Monastery and the entire challenging mountainous area directly below it. It's on a very high and steep mountain, probably well over 3,000 meters in elevation. When His Holiness went there at the time, the local Bhutanese had carefully arranged for many enthusiastic young people, probably dozens of them, to warmly welcome and kindly assist throughout the journey. And there were many porters carefully carrying His Holiness in the ornate sedan chair. Actually, the whole process was quite wonderful. Sometimes when I think back, that stretch of road was really nice. When you go to the Tiger's Nest in Bhutan in the future, take a look at that section of the road in the middle. It's actually quite nice, that stretch of road. There are forests, cypress trees, and fresh flowers, because when we went it was summer, around September. At that time in Bhutan, it truly felt like the height of summer. But in our Tibetan region, by September, the weather is already quite different. From the very bottom to the very top of the mountain, it usually takes quite a while, about 2 hours for most people. But for us at that time, it might have taken 3 or 4 hours. And when we arrived there, His Holiness seemed to be different from us ordinary pilgrims that day. Normally, when we go on pilgrimage, we bring a camera with us. We look around and say, wow, it's so beautiful here. Or we comment, how is it here? I'm so tired. But His Holiness always seemed to remain settled in a certain state. He was continuously reciting prayers at that time. Meanwhile, we probably took several necessary breaks along the difficult way. Because at Tiger's Nest, you have to go up first and then come carefully back down. Those of you who have been there should know this well. The path is quite treacherous. And as we got closer to the sacred place, actually, Tiger's Nest is dramatically located on a very high, almost impossibly steep cliff. From the outside, it strikingly looks like a magnificent monastery precariously perched on the sheer rock of the cliff. It appears to be quite steep. But once you get inside, it's not truly frightening. Inside, it's actually quite spacious and inviting. Every single cave and every sacred spot within this remarkable place is a location where Guru Padmasambhava diligently practiced and successfully attained various profound spiritual accomplishments and insights. In fact, the revered Guru Padmasambhava powerfully subdued many non-human beings and spirits right here. It should be said that after completing all his activities in Tibetan area, and before he was about to head to the land of the Rakshasas, he left clear signs of his accomplishments here. He also carefully concealed many valuable Terma treasures here. He left behind many truly precious Terma treasures for all sentient beings in the world. It's a truly remarkable place, much like this one. That's why in many of our heartfelt prayers, there is often significant mention of Paro Taktsang, which is widely known as the tiger's nest. This particular point is extremely important. I'm essentially advertising for the beautiful country of Bhutan, aren't I? It's almost like a comprehensive tourism advertisement. Many of you might genuinely desire to go there, to that remarkable place. When His Holiness approached that particular location, actually, there's a very distinct spot quite close to the magnificent tiger's nest. It truly seems like there's a small secluded cave situated directly across from it. At that very spot, His Holiness could clearly see that the tiger's nest was situated over there, and His Holiness was positioned on this side. However, I must admit, I was feeling a little bit mischievous. I would take a photo from behind, take a photo from above. Sometimes I would actually do things like that. But even now, sometimes I still do, even today. Especially when I was writing my memoir this year, I'm still very much grateful for my old, somewhat broken camera. A lot of precious photos have now been found. There are a few photos that I probably haven't had the chance to look for yet when I go back on. There should still be a few much better and more detailed photos remaining. At that particular time, His Holiness sat for a considerable while at the very entrance of a natural cave. He asked all of us to leave that specific area so we could only secretly take pictures from a bit farther away with our cameras. Then there was a special place where His Holiness specifically gave gracious permission to photograph. At that time there was a yellow cushion laid out for His Holiness. His Holiness also allowed us to take photos. We wondered if this might be the place where the Terma was being revealed. When we came down, we respectfully asked His Holiness to leave a kata at that special and blessed sacred spot in reverence. If it was a terrestrial terma, it might have been there all along, hidden beneath. But in any case, we stayed there for quite a while. It was about half an hour or maybe around 20 minutes. Then we waited from a distance the whole time. Actually, we were a bit hungry at that time too, because we hadn't eaten anything. When His Holiness first arrived there was no news for a while, and we didn't dare to go over. Later it seemed like His Holiness coughed. That was a sign that we could approach. So we followed along. After we went, we then entered the mysterious cave. Once inside the cave, we still didn't eat. First, we recited sacred scriptures and made aspirations in the temple. After that, we stayed there for 2 consecutive nights with special permission. Normally, tourists aren't allowed to stay there. You have to leave in the early afternoon hours because there aren't really any accommodations in that place. Even now, I heard it's still exactly the same. But at that time, our situation was a bit special. They arranged accommodations there at night for His Holiness, and they also arranged accommodations for us attendants. That afternoon, His Holiness, the revered spiritual leader, composed the concise and profound practice text for the Wrathful Guru Rinpoche mandala that we currently use. He put it into writing, and at that time I was the one who wrote it down. And at that particular time, His Holiness seemed to be reciting scriptures as he did it. In a very short time, I wrote it all down completely. After it was written down completely, His Holiness seemed quite relaxed. He spoke gently and warmly, and everything felt more ordinary. Then he gave us, I'm not sure if it was an actual empowerment or not. I don't remember it very clearly. But he did indeed transmit it to us once. After transmitting it, he asked us at Tiger's Nest to recite the syllable hum from 10,000 up to 100,000 times. He kept persistently insisting that we all collectively recite the sacred syllable hum with great focus. The very next day, we diligently continued to recite hum throughout the day. Essentially, almost everyone successfully completed this task. At that time, I remember we were mostly observing silence because there really wasn't much else in that place. Occasionally, some travelers would come by. It wasn't like it is now. Now I hear there are a few more people. This, I personally and profoundly believe, truly is the main and most significant purpose why His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche went to the sacred land of Bhutan back then to reveal such a profound and essential teaching for all sentient beings in this current degenerate age. If we were to practice the extensive sadhana of Dorje Drolö by Master Lerab Lingpa, it would be truly impossible. Generally speaking, if you were to attempt to practice it, merely reciting it just once could realistically consume an entire day. It is genuinely not that straightforward or simple to practice. This particular kind of practice, however, is comparatively much easier and more manageable, I suppose. The wrathful form of Guru Padmasambhava, many of us have probably seen it. But this particular wrathful form of Guru Padmasambhava is also quite different from some other wrathful forms that are commonly depicted and widely recognized. The Dorje Drolö we often talk about, Dorje actually means Vajra, or indestructible. Drolö means a powerful and wrathful hero, a person of great strength, you could say, certainly. Or you could say that Vajra means indestructible and unbreakable forever. Drolö refers to someone who has already attained the highest state of realization. This is the kind of manifestation we're talking about here. As for Dorje Drolö in Tibetan area, whether it's this particular kind of spiritual practice or this specific kind of heartfelt prayer for absolutely everyone, it is truly, you could confidently say, something that has become a widely recognized household name. Most people will undoubtedly use this. As I just mentioned, in our lives there are times when the peaceful methods really can't solve the problem. And in such cases, these wrathful practices are very important. We all know this. Sometimes the external world, the elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, can experience very serious destruction and disasters. And sometimes in the sentient world, we face fears, discursive thoughts, and depression, or the afflictions and suffering are extremely, extremely intense. Some people's afflictions are not ordinary at all, indeed. When you give rise to anger, that anger is truly so strong that even if Drolö came, he might not be able to subdue it either. Even if Guru Padmasambhava himself appeared, it might still be a bit difficult. Sometimes people around you look and think, is there really someone in the world with such a huge amount of anger? At a first glance, everyone inevitably wonders, what kind of individual is this, truly, deep down? Some people, when they experience feelings of intense jealousy or overwhelming greed, others are truly shocked thinking, wow, are there really people in this world with such intense and profound afflictions? This includes us, and also various kinds of fears. Especially, that's how I feel. In this truly degenerate age we currently live in now, the affliction, suffering, and changes among sentient beings are especially great. It's completely different from many eras in the past. Especially as we all know, in the 21st century truly, whether you look at it from the perspective of sentient beings' minds or from the changes in the external world as a whole, there has never been such rapid change in all of human history as there is now. People's minds change especially quickly these days. Someone can be a good person today and a bad person tomorrow. Today you might be the best of friends, but tomorrow you could truly be bitter enemies. Today your relationship might seem absolutely inseparable, but it's very possible that tomorrow you'll be mortal enemies. This happens not only between people, but also in our economy and politics, and in truly everything else in the wide world. Things can change at the drop of a hat, instantly becoming something else. Today I might be a very wealthy tycoon in the world, but tomorrow I could just end up as a beggar right on the street, or even worse. Such changes have never happened before in human history. This is the defining feature of the 21st century. In such a truly ever-changing and constantly changing, or rather in this current, increasingly unreliable and challenging era, perhaps the most effective and profound remedy for us is to earnestly pray to powerful and compassionate deities like the revered Guru Padmasambhava, diligently reciting potent and fierce mantras, and devoutly invoking the protective and wrathful deities for guidance and protection. As long as you have faith, perhaps it will work. If some of us genuinely feel that this is utter and complete nonsense, that this is just serious sounding and utterly meaningless nonsense, then it's perfectly fine for you not to accept it. But what I am saying to you now is truly sincere and deeply heartfelt. If you think this way, there's nothing I can do about it. As for myself, whether it's my own practice, my personal faith, or all of my deeply held spiritual values in life, they truly all depend on the great Guru Padmasambhava. I often recite Lama Kien and Guru Rinpoche Kien with devotion. Many Westerners, and in fact I have a particular fondness for certain Westerners, they possess and adhere to their own held personal faith and spiritual beliefs. But later on, perhaps due to the blessings of some Tibetan Buddhist masters, they still have very, very strong and profound faith in Guru Padmasambhava. I also hope that some of us, as long as we have the right and conducive conditions, we can certainly develop this kind of unwavering faith. With such a strong and steadfast faith, perhaps the suffering and various afflictions of all sentient beings nowadays, didn't I mention it before, When the darkness of the degenerate age is at its peak, the blessings of Guru Rinpoche are like the bright and clear moon, especially when it is extremely dark. The radiant full moon on the 15th day of the lunar month can illuminate the entire world with its gentle glow. In this degenerate age, especially within our own hearts, just as I mentioned earlier, all kinds of dark forces, evil influences, and negative powers, various negative emotions come flooding in one after another, then perhaps our only method is to pray to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When we pray to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, sometimes the compassionate teachings of the Tathagata truly cannot fundamentally transform or completely tame those stubborn and hard to tame evil spirits and heretical views, as well as our own discursive thoughts. Then, by relying on prayers to Guru Padmasambhava, we can cut through all the chaotic and disordered discursive thoughts within our own mind stream, and then recognize the true original nature of our own mind, the inseparable self-nature of luminous emptiness and great bliss. In this way, many afflictions like the darkness of thick, heavy clouds and so on will all dissipate like smoke and clouds. Relying on certain dependent origination is truly inconceivable. On this point, I'm not saying here that I have any particular motive or that I have a special relationship with Guru Padmasambhava. It's not like that at all. But I still want to make it abundantly clear to everyone. When I personally went to Bhutan, I truly received a very great and profound blessing at that particular time. When I went to Bhutan, one thing is my connection with the protector deity Cheringma was quite strong. Some people might think I'm telling a big lie, but actually that's truly not the case. There might be some minor faults, but it's not a great lie. This is the truth. At that time, I also received some external blessings from the Guru Padmasambhava. Whenever I was in the sacred caves of Bhutan, I cried for a long time. But nowadays, many of our lay practitioners especially love to cry, so sometimes it's not necessarily a big deal. Whenever they encounter someone, they cry so profusely that their faces are thoroughly washed with tears. They genuinely don't even need to use water to cleanse their faces every single day. Instead, they effectively use their abundant tears to wash their faces exceptionally clean. So this might not actually be a good thing. But I too, standing humbly in front of my truly precious and revered Guru, personally received his profound and direct blessings along with the sacred lineage transmission. Therefore, if I were to now teach everyone, it would be a great honor and responsibility. There might not be quite enough time today. If I were to talk about this particular practice, it might indeed have to wait until the next class. Originally, there was no class specifically scheduled for tomorrow, but tomorrow perhaps. If you are willing to study Vajrayana teachings, tomorrow will be quite a bit different from today. Tomorrow you absolutely must study the profound Vajrayana teachings. If you truly want to enter the path of Vajrayana, you are welcome to attend tomorrow's class. This is because some people may not wish to enter Vajrayana, and that is perfectly understandable. In that particular case, you should absolutely not attend tomorrow's class. This includes all of us here who truly want to listen to the practice of Cholo tomorrow. You should be present in person to be able to hear it. Originally, we didn't have a class scheduled for tomorrow. The day after tomorrow is the significant prayer to Guru Rinpoche. On that auspicious day, the profound prayer was originally composed by the revered Guru, His Holiness, at the serene Lotus Lake. However, today, I also took a careful look at our current situation. Actually, if we transmit it directly like this, it might not be very appropriate. Therefore, today I'm speaking openly. I talked about the powerful and wrathful Guru Rinpoche, a very important figure, as well as the truly profound Song of Victory, some very simple and straightforward external practices, especially some truly wrathful and powerful practices. For us sentient beings, these are certainly not manifestations of anger or hatred at all, but rather something else entirely. They should be seen as symbolic expressions of afflictive emotions and a form for subduing afflictions. I gave a teaching to everyone on this topic. As for tomorrow, whether you choose to listen in person or other ways, there are certain important requirements that must be met. If you yourselves do not wish to take refuge, then that is your choice to make. It is best not to attend tomorrow's class. And if you do not wish to study Vajrayana teachings because tomorrow's practice of Drolö, it seems, yesterday some Khenpos were asking whether or not to do something about it. But I said, after looking into it, tomorrow's session might be a bit more special. So I also hope that if you do not have faith in Vajrayana teachings, including not having complete faith in the teacher at all, in such cases it's best not to listen. As for the teaching on the day after tomorrow, it is a sacred prayer text indeed. Anyone should be able to easily listen to it. Then, moving on to the very next important teaching, this teaching can also be listened to by everyone. And next week, I also want to talk about the Sigalovada Sutra. As for the Sigalovada Sutra, actually, it is quite relevant to many ordinary lay people in the world and their daily lives. They may truly need it more. It contains some fundamental principles of humanistic Buddhism and some practical principles of Buddhism in daily life. So if you are truly willing, you can listen to this. Of course, the opportunity for us to hear the Dharma is quite rare. In the future, everyone should have a sense of how precious this is. It's not something we typically have or experience every single day. There may be numerous and significant changes that unfold in the foreseeable future. This comprehensively includes each of our own individual afflictions and specific physical conditions, and also the broader overall global and complex world situations. There are always many, many changes. So everyone should also truly cultivate an awareness of impermanence. This is very important. So today I also want to give a brief introduction to the Guru Rinpoche practice as background. In the way of introduction, I talked about the precious Guru Rinpoche as well as the inspiring story of the tiger's nest in Bhutan and the tiger. That's roughly how it is today, so we'll stop here for today. Thank you all for listening.
Bandara